Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Fountain Pen Showdown. 2 Sailor pens for you. I've got the Sailor Compass, sometimes called a Sailor Junior, steel nibbed pen. And I thought we'll put that up against the Sailor ProGear Slim gold nibbed pen. Both fairly small in terms of size. Be interesting to see how I get on with them. So join me now down on the table. We'll take a look at the pens. We'll walk through the bodies, do some size comparisons, do some weights and measures, a writing sample, then I'll give you my thoughts and my scores for these pens. Welcome down to the table. Today we're taking a look at 2 pens by Sailor. We've got the Sailor 1911 Junior, this has a steel nib. And then we've got the Sailor ProGear Slim, this has got a 14 karat gold nib. Let's start by taking a walk through the body. Size wise, we can see there's a difference. We'll look a little bit more detail when we do our size comparisons. Colour wise, we've got a big difference. So we've got black and we've got like a gunmetal grey trim. Whereas here we've got this Sailor ProGear Slim here. This has got blue, green and nebula material. Slightly translucent, a like tealy green colour, and then with these beautiful specks of silver. Looks like stars, and I think that's a design. So nebula, that's a star nursery. The caps are different. We've got points and the flat ends, same with the end of the body. If we look at the clips, very similar there, obviously different colour. Width wise, to be honest to me, by eye they look very similar. Again, when we do our weights and measures, we'll take a closer look at that. Let's take the caps off. So with the Junior, so there's half, 1, 1.5, 2, nearly 2.5 turns to take that cap off. With the ProGear Slim, half, 1, 1.5, nearly 2 turns there. Just going to pop these next to each other and we'll take a closer look at the nibs. As I've already said, with that 1911 Junior, this is a steel nib. It's got a beautiful gunmetal grey colour, fits in really well with the rest of the body. It's a very simple nib. We've got the Sailor anchor, then below that we've got MF. This is a medium fine nib. Looking at the ProGear Slim, gold nib, 14 karat gold. A lot more decorative as well, so we've got a nice engraved border. Below the breather hole, we look down, there's the Sailor logo. If we go on down, we've got 14K, then 575, which is the gold content. And right at the bottom there, we've got a B, it's a broad nib. Both these pens are fairly small looking. In the hand, they are also small. They're both cartridge converters. So there's the converter there on the ProGear Slim. And then on that 1911 Junior. There we go. Even the converter has got the colour, so it's matching in with that gunmetal. Very nice attention to detail. Let's swap over and fetch in some size comparisons. Here's my 2 standard size comparisons, the Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari. Both of today's pens are smaller than even the Metropolitan. The 1911 Junior not by much, but we're definitely looking at smaller pens here. Let's pop the caps off. With the caps off, same story. Today's pens are smaller even than the Metropolitan. And now the ProGear Slim and the 1911 Junior, they're catching up in size. All the nibs, looking at them together, they're all fairly small nibs. We've got that number 5 size Pilot nib, got the steel and the gold, and then we've got a Lamy style nib. How are they in the hand? We'll start with the 1911 Junior. So here we go, unposted. It feels quite thin. Doesn't feel long enough for me. This is a pen I need to use posted. It does post quite nicely and it's quite comfortable when I'm writing with it. With the ProGear Slim, again, feels quite small. Actually feels a little bit wider than I was getting with that 1911 Junior. Again, we do posts really well, and this is another pen I have to use this posted. Let's swap over and fetch some pens in roughly the same price range. The two pens I've brought in, both of them number 6 nibs, so we can see the nibs are a lot bigger. I've brought in a Diamine N7, that's 45 Aussie dollars. The Sailor 1911 Junior, about 45 Australian dollars. The Sailor ProGear Slim, 400 Australian dollars. And the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande, 377 Australian dollars. The Leonardo, that's a steel nib. When you look at the Leonardo next to them, wow, doesn't it make them look tiny? Even the N7 makes these look really, really thin. Let's pop the caps on. Before we look at them with the caps on, I just accidentally put the wrong cap on the pens. I thought I'd show you. So this is the 1911 Junior's cap going on to the ProGear Slim. Fits perfectly virtually. And the other way around, again that ProGear Slim cap fits really well on the 1911 body. I just found that was something a little bit on the interesting side, so let's get them down correctly this time. And here comes the Sailor. Well, they're both Sailors, so here comes the ProGear Slim. Now we've got the Sailor 1911 Junior. That's virtually the same length as a Diamine N7. Both pens a lot shorter than the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. Let's swap on over and fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. We'll start with the 1911 Junior. So the full pen with the cap on, 13.4 centimetres. Unposted, that comes in at 11.4 centimetres. Posted, we're now looking at 14.3 centimetres. The width of the body, 1.2 centimetres. The width of the cap, 1.4 centimetres. And the section goes from 0.95 up to 1.05 centimetres. With a ProGear Slim. So full pen, that comes in at 12.4 centimetres. So roughly a centimetre shorter. Unposted, here we're looking at 11 centimetres, so we're looking at about 4 millimetres difference. Posted, that also comes in at 14.3 centimetres. The width of the body, I measured it from here, that's 1.2. The width of the cap, 1.5, so the cap's slightly wider. And the section, that goes from 0.9 up to 1.1. That's what I'm saying, it does feel a little bit different, but there's next to nothing in it. Let's get this out of the way, fetching the scales of weighing. Here we've got the scales of weighing. We start again with the 1911 Junior. 16 grams. Remember, we've also got a bit of ink in here. 10 grams for the body. 6 grams there for the cap. Very light feeling pen. The ProGear Slim. 20 grams. Just a little bit heavier. The body, 13 grams, and the cap, 7 grams. I think most of that additional weight, it comes from the actual resin rather than anything else. Let's get this out of the way, and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Here we've got the notepad of testing. We're going to start with the 1911 Junior. So we've got here a Sailor. 1911 Junior with a medium fine nib, and this is a Japanese medium fine. Price wise, 45 Aussie dollars. The ink by Diamine, and it's Yuletide. I'm going to do a wasky squirrel grid, so up and down, side to side. There's a grid pattern, and there's my diagonal pattern. Drying times, so we go immediate. Fairly quick drying, isn't it? 10 seconds. Tiny little smudge, not worth doing a 30-second test. Very, very fast drying combo. I think that's more down to the nib. It is a very fine nib. Going to move the mic down to the page so you can hear the pen write. The nib is very stiff feeling. It's almost like I'm writing with a nail. There is a lot of audible feedback. Hopefully the mic was able to capture that. And tactileness, it's stiff. It feels like I'm writing with a very sharp pencil. It's actually quite nice. My final test, my scribble. Then going backwards. So the ink's flowing well there. Let's just move the page up ever so slightly. And we'll do the Sailor ProGear Slim. So different ink in here. The ink I've got in here is a shimmer and a sheen. So I'm just agitating the pen a little bit. Give that chance to get that shimmer up into suspension. And then we'll go and write. So we've got here a Sailor ProGear Slim. It's got a broad 14 karat gold nib. Room on my page. The price for this pen, you're looking at about 400 Aussie dollars. The ink by Diamine, and it's a Garland. Very nice looking ink. Wasky squirrel grid. So we go up and down. It's a broad nib, putting down more ink than we were seeing with that last one. So it's filling these grids up a lot faster. A grid type thing. And diagonals. Drying times, so we got immediate. A lot wetter looking. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. Nearly dry there at a minute. Let's move the mic down to the page to hear the pen writing. That's very nice. It's louder sounding than we were getting with the 1911 Junior. It also doesn't feel as stiff, but that could be because I use this pen a lot more than the 1911 Junior, so it could be that it's softened with use. This is by far my favourite nib, full stop. Of all the nibs I've got, all the pens I've got, I love this nib. It's really, really nice. Final test, our scribble. The ink from this pen just flows out really nicely. Just going to turn this around so we can see here, hopefully the camera's catching it, got the beautiful red there, that red sheen. I struggle to be honest, to see any shimmer in this. And it's not just on this one. It's on virtually everything that I use this. All the different pens I've used, I really struggle seeing the shimmer. But the sheen, wow, that's really nice. I mean, even here in the grid, I'm struggling. Yeah, there's bits of green shimmer there now coming through. So what are my thoughts and my scores for these pens? Today's pens. The Sailor 1911 Junior with Diamine Yuletide, and the Sailor ProGear Slim with Diamine Garland. I really like both the pens. As I've already said, I do tend to use the ProGear Slim more than the 1911, which is a shame because when I have this out and use it, I love using it. But let's start by giving marks for pen looks. With the 1911 Junior, it's a pretty boring looking pen really, isn't it? It's black and gunmetal grey, but it's classic. It's not going to really upset people if you pull it out at a meeting. It's not going to be bright. It's not going to be in the face. 8 out of 10 for that. The ProGear Slim with this blue-green nebula, oh, I love it. It looks so pretty, doesn't it? It's got a bit of character, but not enough that you couldn't take it to that business meeting. 9 out of 10. Build quality. What more can I say? It's Sailor. Got really good build quality. Both pens fine. I've had both pens about 3 years now. No issues with them. They just work every time. 8 out of 10. Writing experience. It's a medium fine nib. My preference is broad nibs, so that does impact it a little bit with the writing experience, but it still writes well. Feels a bit on the stiff side. I'll give it 8 out of 10. With the ProGear Slim, as I've already said, my favourite nib, full stop. That does impact the score. I love writing with this. Yes, it's a bit on the thin side. You don't notice that though when you're writing. For writing experience, oh, so nice. 9 out of 10. Ink flow, no issues with either of them. They write well, get plenty of ink coming out. With the 1911 Junior, again, mainly due to the nib, it is a drier pen, which is actually quite good when I'm taking notes because I can turn my pages really quickly, whereas I have to sometimes wait a little bit with the ProGear Slim. So both of them, 8 out of 10. Comfort, I'm going to mark them down a little bit purely because of the size. And yes, I know there is a Sailor ProGear and there is a Sailor 1911 and there's large versions of those, but I'm judging these on what they are. These are small, thin pens. And I do notice my hand, especially around here, starts to cramp up a little bit if I use them for too long. So for comfort, I'm going to ding them both and give them 7 out of 10. Value for money. $45. Yeah, spot on. Right in that sweet spot where a lot of other pens, of the same quality, same type, Japanese pens, even some Chinese pens. I think it's really good. It's right spot on. 8 out of 10. With the ProGear Slim, look, let's be honest, we are talking more money. Sailor, they're not cheap pens, but it's a pretty pen. It's a gorgeous writing experience. Is it worth the $400? I actually think it is. Do I plan to buy another one? Not unless there's some really beautiful material that really jumps out at me. To me, this is just my perfect Sailor ProGear Slim. But it's $400. I'm still going to give it 8 out of 10. That means the total score for the Sailor 1911 Junior and Diamine Yuletide is 7.83 out of 10. And for the Sailor ProGear Slim with Diamine Garland is 8.17 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. So what do you think of these pens? Which one do you prefer? Do you like the cheap one, which is really good value, compared to that little bit more expensive one, but with one of the nicest nibs I've got? Very hard to choose. Why not drop your comments down below? Let's kickstart that conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.